Hey, what's happening all? You're in the basement, so I ended up getting a delivery today of something that I've been interested in for a while, doing some research online, trying to figure out if this is the right fit, is it the right bike, or not. So, any case, it has arrived today. And the packaging on it is actually in very good shape. Some people were complaining about delivery of these if you're ordering from X-Pro directly, or if you were ordering from Power Sports Max. I ordered from Power Sports Max and had no issues at all. I think I ordered this on Sunday. Today is Wednesday. So super fast shipping. And overall, the box appears to be in good shape. We'll do some unboxing and see what it looks like inside, see if there's anything damaged there, but overall very impressed so far, just in terms of the shipping. So I also asked in an email to Powered Sports Max to have the MSO updated so that it shows motorcycle instead of off-road, since this is dual sport with full functioning lights, horn, everything that you need to be street legal. And I did that because I do plan on registering it here in Pennsylvania, so that I'm able to ride to different places that I need to get to. And so in any case, we'll see how that process goes. Once the MSO comes, then I'll end up taking it to the notary, where I will be able to hopefully get a PA title as a motorcycle, and then get a plate for registration and also insurance. So we'll see how that all works out. I'll kind of keep you posted on that video, but I'm excited to see what this looks like. I've ridden so many different manufactured motorcycles throughout the year. I'm a big KTM fan. I had actually sold my 450 EXC just 6 months ago or so. Missed it a lot. I've been doing a lot of projects around the house, so instead of spending another $10,000 on a brand new bike, or trying to find something that's well kept, that's used, I decided to go for this. There were a lot of great reviews, and any case, obviously the power is not going to be anywhere near the 450, and that's okay with me. It probably will keep me a little bit safer overall from reaching some of the high speeds or flying through the woods. But in any case, I'm excited to see what this looks like. I've been a Honda guy in the past, Yamaha, really good machines there. But yeah, so we'll see how this looks and how it goes together. But the next part of this is basically going to be the unboxing, the unveiling, so you can see from my perspective what I received right off the truck. And I brought this down to my basement so that I can work on it as a winter project. And I just used a dolly, got it down to the basement. It wasn't all too heavy. It's a little heavy by all means, but it wasn't so bad. I did it all myself, was able to move it myself. So for reference, I'm not all that tall or all that heavy by any means, but I think if you've got a dolly that you can use, you should be in pretty good shape to maneuver it wherever you need to, and then go from there. So, but in any case, we'll get with the unboxing and the unveiling. Okay, so I just started to unbox it. Overall, looks to be in pretty good shape. So not too terribly bad, but definitely some punctures and stuff here. So we'll have to see what it looks like once I get this thing fully unwrapped. But thus far, not too terrible. I've definitely seen a lot worse. So we'll hope that the puncture there on the side of the box doesn't have any impact on what's in there internally. So we'll see here in the next step. All right, so let's see what this thing looks like on the inside. I think it should, in theory, just lift off. easier just to cut it. All right, first initial glance, everything looks okay. Something definitely impacted here. This is where that hole was, because this support rod or frame of the bike frame overall here is actually very dented and very pushed in. I don't know how well it picks up there on the camera, but something definitely impacted it there. Whatever it was, I don't think it hit the bike. So let me see if I've got injured the bike at all. So you can see the impact there, whatever it was, but overall, everything inside here looks just fine. I don't see any signs of damage. So, but hey, you know, we'll see. We'll get this thing fully unwrapped. It's interesting that they put this front wheel here, really like right on the edge. So, you know, just for damage, there's even nothing really here protecting it. You know, like a piece of wood or something would help for sure. But otherwise, it looks to be okay. We'll see how straight it is. All right. So I think the way I'm going to tackle this is really just cut off all these zip ties here. We'll pull the front wheel off. There were two straps. I forgot to set the camera back up here, but there were two straps that were essentially wrapped around the forks here. And all they were is they were just basically nylon straps, I should say, but they were just essentially wrapped around the upper part of the fork and then around the frame. So I think it was just stabilization left to right, more or less, for the bike itself, but really easy to remove. I didn't even actually cut those. Just ended up pulling them apart. And but yeah, so that's kind of my plan of action here. And we'll start cutting, like I said, all of these off and get this frame or this cage unbolted. There's several bolts on this, so I'm not sure how much of this I'm going to have to really take apart, but I'm thinking that I might just try to unbolt the bottom once I get all this other stuff removed, and then just try to lift this the top part of this frame off completely for the time being. So at least that'll then get me somewhat started on being able to get the assembly process going. Okay, you can see I got most of the bike frame, or the, really should call it, I guess, the cage or the shipping frame. But I got most of the shipping frame unbolted. If you've got a cordless or battery powered drill, makes it so much faster, so much easier to pull this thing apart. Front axle, there's these two tabs that come up that's on the shipping frame that you'll have to pull out the front axle for. I've got the bike stand from Harbor Freight ready to go. And yeah, so far so good. Haven't found any damage or anything else as a result of shipping. So moving along. All right, so first impressions. I'm quite impressed, I will say. I did not think this bike would put a smile on my face, but it does. Coming from a KTM 450 EXC, this thing's actually a lot of fun to ride, I will say. Definitely not the horsepower of 450 by any means. Wasn't expecting it to be, but for 250, feels similar to a non-racing 250cc. Probably the closest comparison I would say is the CRF 250F. Not the 250R, but the 250F, yeah, very close to that. Overall, a couple things I'll go over with you that I did. since we're at the rear of the bike, maybe I'll show you what I did back here. So for those of you that will find this wiring harness, which runs basically, now mine I should say, runs basically along the inner side of this, it's hard to see, but runs along the inner side of the fender, and the hole actually is down here. I re-drilled, I plugged this, but I re-drilled a hole just behind this bracket, or the, I guess you call it the rear luggage rack. But I did that because I didn't want the wiring harness sitting all the way down here, which was almost in the middle of the rear fender. And the reason is, if you've ever been in the woods and you got a vine or something that wraps around your wheel, you don't want all of that hitting your wiring. So as far as up as you can get it and out of the way of the middle, the better off you are, less risk you'll have in terms of pulling that, you know, wiring harness out of the fender. But otherwise, that was the only modification I really made in terms of drilling. So a couple things to note: these two bolts on either side gave me a bit of a hard time when I was putting everything back together, just alignment. I ended up using a screwdriver just to kind of get the holes realigned, and then was able to feed the bolts through. Talking about bolts, Loctite, 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 everything. So all these bolts that you see on here, I have Loctite. Blue Loctite specifically. If you use red, it's going to be permanent. Blue Loctite, semi-permanent. But everything you see on here, Loctite. Just because I've read, guys said that they have lost bolts. Do yourself a favor, take the time to do it up front. That way you can ride it, have a bit peace of mind, knowing that this thing's not going to rattle itself apart. Overall, ergonomically, it's great. I don't notice any significant differences from some of the big manufacturers that are out there. This bike looks so good, I gotta be honest. I didn't think it was gonna look this good in person, but I'm quite impressed. There are some things you'll notice, like it's not perfect in terms of the quality, right? You'll see, like, even in some close-ups and things like that, you know, some of your edges aren't exactly very well, I don't want to say rounded necessarily, but trimmed nicely. Like, there's some jagged edges, things like that. The thing you'll notice probably the most is inside of this side fender here, or the side cover rather, that they could have done a better job in terms of cleaning up the hole, but overall not bad. This is actually your air box. There's holes on either side. Actually, it's not bad on the inside of the box. It's a bit tight. Your battery kind of sits right on top of the air filter, but otherwise not bad. I left the stock carb in. You'll see me riding after this, but not bad. I thought overall it felt pretty much fine right out of the box. You know, a lot of guys are going to Nibby. I might consider doing that just to try it and see if it really makes any difference. But it ran well. It sounds actually good. I did end up taking off there's essentially a little bit of an elbow piece here for the exhaust to direct the exhaust and some of the heat away from the rear turn signal. Now, I don't think there's enough hot air coming out of this, or hot exhaust I should say, coming out of this, that it's going to melt your turn signal. On my KTM 450, yeah, it sits much closer. Honestly, it's probably like half the distance, and I have certainly melted turn signals on the KTM 450. This little adapter, really easy to get out. There's one bolt. This is just a cover here. You pull this cover off, and you can easily access the Allen screw that's in there and pull that out. But I did that just because aesthetically I think it looks better without it. But yeah, this bike actually looks really good for what it is. The other thing I think it's a little goofy that I will probably end up adjusting here. This is your fuel line. and they put a metal spring around it. Good thought. But this fuel line is actually sitting up against your cooling fins. I don't like that. So I think what I'm gonna do is, there's a tab on here on the inside, you can see it right there. I'm gonna bend that out just a little bit to see if I can get it to pull away from the cooling fins here on the engine casing. Spark plug wire was also sitting up against the cooling fins. I pulled that out, was able to get it to stay off of the case as well, just because if it gets hot or hot enough, I really don't want to be melting fuel lines or spark plug wires. It can definitely happen. Not sure if it happened with this, but I don't really want to take any chances with that overall. But other than that, pretty easy to put together for the most part. Like I said, just a couple alignment issues, but didn't really stop me, just took my time. These two are a little bit of a pain. You're really gonna have to try to push on the headlight housing to get everything to kind of tuck in there. But it fits, it works. The display, really nice. We got 1 mile on, you can see, but the display is really nice, very bright. It was in direct sunlight, you could see it very easily. Headlight, the bulb itself, probably a little bit left to be desired there. I'll just show you at least what it looks like. It looks bright on camera, and it's okay. And there are high beams on this. I didn't know if there was or was not going to be, but there are high beams. It's a push button, works fine. So you can have the lights on, lights off. Horn works well. It's actually pretty loud. Turn signals are quite bright, as you can see there. That's the left one, here's the right one. But yeah, they're quite nice, quite bright. The other thing I'll end up doing is replacing the chain for sure. Just a little bit of a higher quality chain. This isn't bad, but from what I heard, this stretches pretty easily. I'm gonna ride it yet, let it go for a little bit, tighten it, and then I'll end up getting a new chain. Gearing on this, I hear a lot of comments in terms of it's like a tractor. Yeah, first, second gear, pretty slow. Now, you know, that might be also coming from a 450. You know, it feels a little bit slower, but once you get into third, fourth gear, it starts picking up pretty good. Fifth gear, definitely notice it. But I haven't hit top speed. I need to break this in yet overall, but I can definitely see changing the rear sprocket, going to something a little bit higher, try to get a little bit more speed out of it. I think it's got plenty of low-end torque, just from what I've been around. But I want to take it out in the woods first, see what it's like before I start changing any of the gearing. It really just depends on where you're riding. So at the end of the day, you know, if you're going to be doing a lot of roadway riding, yeah, maybe go to some higher gearing so that you can get more top speed out of it. But I don't plan on taking this down the highway anytime soon. Back roads, probably where it's going to live, and then most of it, life will be off-road. But yeah, that's kind of what I've noticed thus far about it. It sounds good, I will say. For stock exhaust, sounds pretty good. I think overall, I don't know in terms of the spectrum, in terms of the best sounding exhaust, but for stock, yeah, and what you're paying for and what you're getting, yeah, pretty good. I might make some adjustments to the rear suspension. You can do that too. That's relatively easy to do. Braking on this is okay. I think the brakes need to break in a little bit more. It stops pretty good. I mean, I locked up the rear tire one of the times that I was on the driveway, just, you know, giving it some gas and then getting on the brakes just to see how it would respond. But it brakes pretty well, I will say, and obviously enough that it locks up the rear tire pretty easily. So one very important thing, other than the Loctite that I mentioned earlier, this is your throttle cable. I will tell you that I had this initially in the front. I rolled it outside, started it up, turned the wheel to the left, turned the wheel to the right, and when I turned the wheel to the left, it almost redlined. So what happened is when I had this in the front, the cable got pulled, or it got stretched enough where it was hitting, or at least pulling the cable so much that it would rev without me actually revving it. So be mindful of this. Make sure you put it behind the display. There's enough room. I had to take off the whole front assembly again, really just the headlight, which isn't so bad. I mean, the 4 bolts takes a little time because there's a lot of connectors that are here with this wiring harness. So it just takes a little time to get that all tucked back in there neatly and nicely. But yeah, so make sure that your throttle cable sits behind your display. Now it works fine. No issues. Ran it, totally fine. But yeah, that would probably be the only other big thing. One thing I should show you, those of you guys that are putting these together, is the kickstand. So the kickstand's easy to put on. It's 1 bolt that slides through the frame. The spring is a little challenging. So you could do like I've done in the past, where you can grab onto it, pair of pliers, pull that spring down, loop it around. Or a little trick that you can do is grab a screwdriver. And what you can do is, if you loop it on this easily enough, you can basically slide your screwdriver so that the loop is hooked on the screwdriver, and then you'll pull down, and then you'll use the tip or the top of your screwdriver, stick it underneath the post here, and then slide your loop right on. Really easy, simple to do. Definitely recommend doing that. But yeah, just a little tip if you're struggling with trying to pull that spring down. It's a heavy spring. One other thing I would really recommend when you're going to do the assembly on these, it is so easy. Go to Harbor Freight, buy a dirt bike stand. Whether you buy one of these that's adjustable, I mean, really, this is nice because this stand will actually lower down. I can slide it out underneath the bike, and then that way I don't have to lift it up on the stand every time. But I've done that before. I've had the fixed stands. They work fine. You can get one too. I think they're like 35 bucks. This one I think is a little bit more expensive at like 45 bucks, but Harbor Freight's got them pretty cheap. You don't need a fancy one. If you get it, it works great. Makes assembly so much easier, especially when you're trying to put this linkage below your swing arm together. Makes a huge difference. Same thing when you start putting on the front wheel and tire. Makes a huge difference. So, but few things, Loctite everything. You might have to adjust or move some wires you're choosing. Definitely move the fuel line away from your engine casing, and then make sure your throttle cable up at the top there is just like this. So, but otherwise, yeah, this is pretty much how it looks. It rides nice. I'm excited to get it in the woods. Can't wait to try it out, see how it is, see what gearing I need to adjust. But overall, yeah, I like it. I will say I'm quite impressed with it overall. Quite impressed. But yeah, looks cool, runs well. It's only got 1 mile on it, so time will tell, but I don't believe I'll have any issues with it. Just do regular maintenance, check over everything just like you do with your regular bike. If you know, I'll say maybe a more well-known bike. But yeah, that's my review on this. I think if you have any questions, any comments, want to know anything, let me know. I'll post some videos of what it sounds like. It's kind of like a medium loud, I would say. It doesn't sound like it has an aftermarket pipe necessarily, but I'll say it definitely sounds louder than like a stock Honda CRF 250F, or those of you that might have had a 230F. Definitely sounds louder than that. But overall, yeah, I think I'm going to really enjoy this. I've heard guys getting 35,000 miles out of these easily, just by doing regular maintenance. So I expect the same. The engine's based off of a CRF 250F. Well, I should say really a 249cc or 250cc Honda. But Yeah, other than that, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. So, in any case, thanks for watching. Appreciate it, and I'll get another video posted of some riding, so you can make up your mind if this is something you want to go for. But I gotta say, I'm very happy that I've saved thousands of dollars. I can put it into other things and still have a good bit of fun with this. So, enjoy. We'll see you later.